presenting the Indian Will Smith Kaka. Cash Machine? Anyone? These are merely a few of the cringeworthy titles currently haunting Akaash Singh's reputation. The comedian and co-host of the Flagrant podcast went from mercilessly roasting other people's romantic lives in front of enthusiastic audiences to becoming the butt of the joke on the internet when details of his marriage were accidentally revealed by his wife. "I was living my best life in these white boy frat houses. Haha, I can't believe you pulled that off. Seriously, that's outrageous. Who would have thought it would come to this?" Now, he's facing the embarrassment of having his wife's revelations online, and this scandal could very well derail his entire career. On top of the irony, he had a rotating cast of guys in his life, which didn't help the situation one bit. With the humiliation piling up, Akaash might find himself sinking deeper as this controversy threatens to bring his career crashing down. Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist, delivering insightful weekly YouTube documentaries. Today, we're delving into the intense humiliation journey Akaash Singh is navigating, examining how he climbed up as a comedian, reliant on roasting his own fans, and why right now, that very audience is laughing at him rather than alongside him. Despite the chaos, he's still in full denial about it all. But hey, I'm not denying how eager I am for you to hit that subscribe button, so make sure to smash that subscribe button, and let's dive straight into the video. Akaash Singh had a vastly different life planned out. Raised in an Indian family in Dallas, Texas, he was almost destined to follow the classic route, a doctor with a secure job, making his family proud. He even intended to follow in his uncle's footsteps, pursuing pre-med studies at Austin College, until that fateful day he skipped class to attend an open mic in Denton, Texas. That spontaneous decision became the spark that changed his entire life trajectory. "Hit me up," he said. "There's an open mic. Get 5 minutes of material ready." So I did, although I look back now and shudder at how bad it was. "There's an open mic near my school. Get 5 minutes of material together. You're doing this." I had around 7 friends from college who came to see me, and it turned out well. My jokes were heavily focused on race, and I recall memorizing my script at the start. There was a moment when the crowd was laughing so hard that I couldn't deliver my next line. I panicked, saying, "Guys, you're laughing too hard for me to continue." In my mind, I thought, oh no, they're laughing so hard that I can't even get my words out. Yet, out of respect for his parents, he stuck to his studies and graduated in 2006 while suppressing his true passion. It wasn't until he obtained his degree that he felt free to pursue his dreams. So in 2008, he packed his bags and moved to New York, hoping that the vibrant city would ignite his comedy career. However, his initial experience was well below expectations. The only gig he could snag was as a comedic barker at the Village Lantern, where he stood outside comedy clubs shouting at random passers-by to entice them into the shows. As per Akash, this was the only way for him to get time for his material. When you're done barking, you receive a special slot at the end of the show. Securing stage time is tough, but this was a good way to make it happen. He dedicated the next few years to honing his craft, aiming to hit 5 open mics a night, sometimes even 10 on good days. Finally, in 2015, 7 years post his New York arrival, Akaash caught his big break. It all commenced a year earlier, when he started posting videos of his stand-up routines on his YouTube channel. In 2014, while the initial 2 videos didn't garner any views, his third video, titled Akash Singh Destroys Heckler, stand-up comedy, exploded unexpectedly, racking up over 3.7 million views thus far. This sudden fame caught the attention of Nick Cannon, who invited him onto his popular improv battle rap game show Wild and Out. Once he arrived, he instantly established himself with viral moments that showcased just how quick-witted he truly was. "Come here, man. Listen up, Osama. You only showed up on Wild and Out because you thought you were going to blow up." Skyrocketed out of nowhere, amassing over 3.7 million views to date. And this instant fame caught the attention of Nick Cannon, who extended an invitation for him to appear on his hit improv show. On Wild and Out, he instantly captured the spotlight with moments that went viral, displaying just how quick-witted he could be. "Hey, come here. Listen up, Osama. You know, you really only showed up on Wild and Out because you heard it would make you famous. Throw your best race jokes at me, it's all good because at the end of the day, I know my father gained some recognition during his time on Wild and Out. But more importantly, it opened doors for him in the television industry. Over the next 3 years, he made guest appearances on several different shows, the most notable being a blink and you'll miss it role as a dry cleaner in the HBO series The Leftovers, along with consistent spots on comedy shows like MTV's Guy Code and Girl Code, plus his debut on Netflix with the show Brown Nation. While these cameos were minor, They attracted larger audiences to his stand-up. Yet, his true milestone, the one that truly launched him into the spotlight, was teaming up with Andrew Schulz to create the Flagrant podcast in September 2017. Initially, it focused on sports, but by 2022, it had evolved into a pop culture and commentary podcast, solidifying Akash's status as one of the leading comedians on YouTube. However, despite this success being a major highlight, Akash emphasizes that something in his personal life is even more significant to him: his relationship with his wife, Jasleen. According to Akash, he knew she was the one from the moment they met, largely due to one major detail they shared. My wife also hadn't been with any other sexual partners, which deepened our connection. Now, let me ask you this, do you believe her? Ha ha ha, if you've seen her, it's hard to buy into that, right? I remember thinking, what? But she was 22, and I was 31. There was definitely an age gap. So, did you just come out with it, or did you kind of weave it into the conversation? I can't recall exactly how it unfolded. I think she mentioned it first, and when she said, "I'm a virgin," it was like my heart skipped a beat. Yeah, that was the moment. We were overjoyed. I felt like I was a thoroughbred stallion compared to anyone else she'd ever met. Just pure happiness. It all felt so right. It was like fate brought us together, and we connected on a deeper level where she also hadn't been with anyone else. He often talks about how out of his league she is and how grateful he feels that she chose him. My wife is objectively stunning. Me? Not so much. So, I know I have to put in the effort, and whenever she starts evaluating my looks, I just shower her with gifts. He places her on a pedestal, frequently expressing his love for her during his live performances. No matter how long we've been together, I'm crazy about this girl. I married my wife 2 years ago. I almost lost track of time figuring it out because I'm just so in love with her. And as a Hindu, I believe I'll probably reincarnate with her in the next life too. He proposed to her in July of 2021, and they've been living their fairy tale ever since. Or at least, that was the perception before his wife brought public embarrassment to him in November of this year. However, to fully grasp the drama, we first need to shed light on the Red Pill YouTuber who ignited the whole situation, Myron Gaines, particularly his connection with Akaash Singh. Myron, alongside his co-host Walter Weeks, hosts the Fresh and Fit podcast, a show known for its questionable insights into women. Dave Chappelle once said that chivalry is dead and women killed it, suggesting that women must earn chivalry nowadays rather than simply expecting it, because women are not equal to men, and chivalry itself implies a form of inequality. So in January 2022, some of Myron's comments began to circulate online, specifically his rationale behind not dating black women. The reason I don't date them often isn't about their looks, it's about certain behaviors that are celebrated in that community. He went on to say, "I've dated many black girls who are feminine and sweet, but I've also encountered quite a few who were tough to handle. Sadly, I've come to realize that in that culture, strength and independence are often praised, while disrespect for male authority tends to prevail, which is largely due to the fact that many are fatherless. Because of their fatherless upbringing, they lack that male figure to guide them in understanding the importance of following a man's lead. It's clear to me that within that culture, there's this misguided notion that being strong and independent means disregarding male authority in the black community, largely due to fatherlessness. Many of them grow up without fathers, so they miss out on that masculine guidance to teach them the importance of following a man's lead. On January 10th, 2022, both Akash and Andrew seized their moment to invite them to Flagrant, calling them out for their content. They mocked it as corny, immature, and unsuitable for a fresh and fit young male audience, which is fair considering so much of what you guys say sounds pretty childish to me. I caught a clip where you said, "Oh, the nuclear family is crumbling. What should I do? Not get married? Just don't marry at all." Are you genuinely trying to help, or are you just talking to 18-year-old incels? You get what I mean? That's advice that college kids hear. I'ma turn you from a simp to a pimp. Come on, can we be mature here? You guys claim to help men, so either be funny or actually help men. Be real and honest with yourselves. And ditch the ego. I just think you should be straightforward, have a candid conversation, but what really drew everyone's attention was when Akash confronted Myron directly about his reasons for avoiding dating black women. What I find corny as hell is his line of "my preference does not include black women." To me, that's just the corniest thing you can say outside of a criminal. Those women reflect your roots, so if you're saying "I don't typically date them, but you're open to it," that's at least more reasonable than what you originally stated. When I see it, it's like looking at one of those evolutionary charts from Neanderthal to Homo sapien. Y'all are basically the first stage out of Neanderthal. This roast led to massive backlash against Fresh and Fit, with Myron at the center, as the internet perfectly encapsulated the whole exchange in a single comment. I don't date black women, so you deny your own race? No, I definitely date black women. So you misspoke then? That moment ignited a never-ending feud between the two shows, one that has resurfaced from 2022 to 2025. On November 7th of this year, Myron took things up a notch on a personal level, starting with a tweet that read, "I'm never wrong when it comes to these women. Akaash Singh tried to lecture me about women years ago. Is he out of his mind?" He mocked him and himself on a podcast, followed by a link to one of Jasleen's podcast episodes, which presented an unfortunate situation for Akaash. Wait, can I ask what type of porn you watch when using a vibrator? Okay, to be honest, I don't watch porn while using a vibrator. What? I think my imagination does the trick. Wow, much respect, because I don't think I could manage that. Sometimes I think of my own husband while I'm doing it. Wait, that's pretty bold, but I couldn't pull that off, especially when Jasleen began explaining how she and her husband manage their finances. How do you and your husband split finances? Honestly, we don't. We just don't. First off, that's a major red flag. No lie, I adore you girls. But any man who refuses to have a joint bank account or isn't open about his finances has a big red flag. And I'm reiterating this because I already know there will be trolls chiming in. This isn't a two-way street. His money is our money, and my money is my money. This came off as both immature and selfish, with viewers calling her out in the comments, saying things like, "I didn't realize his wife was this immature. There are better ways to handle finances." But these women represent the total decay of society. If Akaash fell from grace, he would leave a trail of red flags behind. Meanwhile, Myron kept doubling down by uploading a video on his YouTube channel, reacting to a compilation of Jasleen's most outrageous remarks. This also highlighted Jasleen's biggest red flag, one that Akaash is still being ridiculed for. Sometimes I feel achingly nostalgic for college when I was partying and living my life in these white boy frat houses. People weren't holding back, calling her out in the comments with remarks like, "I had no idea his wife was this immature. There's a right way to handle finances and sharing." Yet, these women are the definition of social decay. If a cash windfall ever came their way, they'd leave a trail of red flags behind. In the meantime, Myron kept doubling down, posting a video on his YouTube channel reacting to a compilation of Jasleen's most controversial remarks. This also brought to light Jasleen's biggest red flag, one that Akaash is still being roasted for. Sometimes I feel an overwhelming wave of nostalgia for college, where I was living my best life, partying in those predominant white fraternity houses. I had a lineup of guys that I would rotate through, and when that clip went viral, the backlash was overwhelming. Some people targeted Jasleen directly. They slammed her for her crude remarks about her sex life, questioning who in their right mind boasts about being passed around like a joint at a fraternity party. As for others, they directed their ire toward Akaash, criticizing him for being naive enough to think his wife was some sort of angel, with quips like, "My guy picked up the first stripper who would even have a conversation with him. She claimed she was a virgin, and he ended up handing over half his money." This is what occurs when you prioritize looks over character. But sadly, that was just the tip of the iceberg in Akaash's embarrassment, because another video surfaced that revealed Jasleen's infatuation with her sister's husband. I was floored when she confessed, "I'm actively seeking to have an orgy because this couple is just too good looking." And just wait until you see Nav. His physique is unreal, his face card is always a 10, and I can't believe I'm talking about your husband. Let's just say, I'm confident his endowment is at least 10 inches. You can tell she's only down for an orgy because of his impressive physique, but it only escalated from there. She shamelessly stood by her remarks, even with both Akaash and her brother-in-law present in the room, stating that there's a significant difference between being a scammer and being a hustler. Two very different concepts, she insisted. "I'm a hustler who pulls a few scams here and there, not a scammer trying to hustle. I hate to say it, but that was enticing, and that's the reason I'm looking to have an orgy." This sparked a tidal wave of unwanted comparisons for Akaash, with some viewers dubbing him the Indian Will Smith. On the flip side, this couldn't have come at a better time for Myron. His video on the couple skyrocketed, racking up over 600,000 views, well above his usual numbers. Ultimately, Jasleen caught wind of the whole situation and decided to respond on TikTok in an incredibly patronizing tone. What I feel you're all doing, whether it's Andrew Tate or the Red Pill podcast guys, is when they ask you to jump, you say, "How high?" You're still not a real man. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're still just a little beta boy, doing whatever the so-called men tell you. Why are you angry with us? Why does it bother you if my husband and I are comfortable joking around with one another? The difference is, he can go on stage and say anything he wants about me without anyone batting an eye, but when I jump on TikTok to joke, suddenly there's an issue. Because I don't have a microphone in front of me? Make it make sense. I'm not here for the misogyny. She also asserted that this entire fiasco didn't faze her, as it was directing new audiences to her podcast. I'll be honest, people cancelling me doesn't affect me as much because I genuinely don't respect those opinions. Just keep talking about me, it'll send traffic to my page. Our latest YouTube video and podcast episode with Heidi hit 37,000 views, which is impressive for us starting out. So I'm like, just keep the traffic coming. I won't even bother reading the comments. Unfortunately, this only intensified the negativity directed at her because, despite framing everything as playful banter with Akash, she didn't defend or even acknowledge her fib about her virginity. Meanwhile, Akash took to Twitter to hit back at Myron, writing, "My dude is getting triggered by a few jokes. How ironic. But don't worry about me, Myron. I'll place her back in her spot." He wrapped it up by sharing an old 2022 clip of him roasting Myron for his remarks on black women, but to those online, this comeback felt like nothing more than an attempt to deflect. It appeared to them he was sidestepping the genuine issue, his wife's remarks, while trying to shift the focus onto Myron. You might want to turn off the comments after this. Champ, your ridiculous wife on the podcast was talking about how his money is our money, but my cash is just mine. Buddy, you're the real victim here. And it only got worse from that point on. It didn't take long for the internet to dig up more clips of his wife making bizarre statements, starting with another episode of the Main Character podcast where Jasleen casually shared even more outrageous tales from her past. To them, this response felt nothing short of deflection. He was sidestepping the real problem, his wife's remarks, while attempting to shift the focus back to Myron. You're definitely going to have to disable comments after this, you loser. Your ridiculous wife on the podcast was saying his money is our money, and my money is mine. Dude, you're playing the victim here, and it went downhill from there, as it didn't take long for folks to dig up even more clips of his wife making bizarre comments. This only made Akash look even worse, starting with another episode of the Main Character podcast where Jasleen casually shared even more outrageous stories from her past. Hold up, I've got not one but two wild stories about mishaps. So one time I swiped right on this dude on Tinder and made the regrettable decision to let him crash at my place. I wasn't really into hooking up, and when I woke up the next morning, I felt this weird soreness down there. Oh my gosh, can you believe it? Meanwhile, the entire internet seemed to think Jasleen was lying about being a virgin, believing she only saw him as a source of cash instead of her life partner. This theory only gained traction when people started digging up clip after clip of her avoiding his kisses during their vacation. Sorry, just give me a moment to make sure I look good. Do you think I look alright, Mr. Armstrong? This was during his proposal, and even after he promised to love her forever and gifted her a stunning new ring. Oh wow, it's me! Ha ha ha! Will you sing along to Disney's classics forever? Yeah, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. Take that silly drink off, did you guys catch that? Yes. Oh my gosh, how massive is this thing? Big enough for you to keep quiet. Every time I thank you, it becomes a major deal. What do you think? This looks so exquisite. Viewers also noticed how Jasleen tried to overlook him while she was too busy admiring her new ring, which seemed to indicate she lacked any genuine feelings for him. This became even clearer with more clips from her TikTok and podcast surfacing lately, like when she shared her thoughts on what makes their marriage work. You know, I think I have a good marriage, knock on wood, minus the pantry being ajar. I think it's because my husband's never around, or when she talked about dealing with his birthday celebrations, okay, May the 4th is Akash's big day, and May the 4th be with you. Yes. And every year I cringe because I have to pretend to be nice all day and get him something. Plus, I have to act all sweet doing nice gestures, or how she struggled to express her love for him on their wedding day. That's just brutal. Jasleen did respond to the online backlash, attempting to clarify why she shies away from public displays of affection. She explained, "Fear of PDA is my issue, to address those who think I don't like my husband because I turned away from a kiss. I just don't love public displays of affection. It completely overstimulates me, and my husband tries to work through it with me since that's his love language. You see, for him, physical touch helps him manage his feelings, while it tends to throw me off in stressful situations." In all fairness, she has opened up about this topic on her podcast, describing public affection as something that amplifies her anxiety. The second thing he does is try to kiss me in instances that are already overwhelmingly stimulating, like inside a crowded elevator when we're in a rush. And he'll kiss me on the forehead, which is sweet, but I'm telling you, he'll do it like 5 times. I'm not joking. It's like, okay, enough after the 3rd time. Ha ha ha, stop touching me. But, you know, while this could have been a solid explanation for her awkwardness, most people didn't buy it, especially considering the explicit stories she shared about her past stories that notably exclude her husband. Complicating matters further, the internet kept unveiling more clips of her outright disrespecting her partner, including one where she offered some seriously contradictory views on prenups. Is it just me, or does asking a girl to sign a prenup seem wildly offensive? Like, if I ask someone to sign a prenup because I built a booming business, okay, fair. But if a guy asked me, I'd call off the wedding right then and there. Unsurprisingly, all of this led to Jasleen facing a wave of online backlash, with many branding her a gold digger simply after Akaash's money. Then I would say, yeah, could you please sign this prenup? I really don't want to risk losing all my money. But if a guy asks me to sign one, I'm calling off the wedding like, straight up. Unsurprisingly, this led Jasleen to receive a whirlwind of backlash from the internet, with many labeling her a gold digger just after Akaash's fortune. She's been dealing with a wave of online backlash, with some folks branding her as a gold digger, claiming she's only after his cash. There's a common misconception about me that I'm just a gold digger, or that I'm from a privileged background, which is somewhat accurate, but some have even gone as far as to label her a serial cheater. It's clear that Akash has no feelings for her, yet even if that's not the case, she's still openly disrespecting her husband in front of the whole internet. While Akash seems powerless to intervene, it's equally crucial to consider how these remarks are affecting him and his comedy career. He has built his livelihood on crowd work during his live performances, often highlighting couples in the audience and poking fun at their relationship dynamics, like this adorable couple. And just to clarify, when I say it, I'm talking about the girl in particular, not you so much, my friend. Haha, I'm genuinely baffled at how this even happened. This is absolutely wild, right? Who would have thought that this was going down? You've got a great gig, huh? So, as soon as I mentioned it, she rested her head in his lap, saying, yeah, I probably owe him some head. He makes a lot of money. But after their marriage has been publicly scrutinized and mocked, that signature comedy style might no longer work for him. However, what's even more disturbing is how hard Akash seems to be taking it. Several attendees from his latest show described the atmosphere as awkward, reporting that he essentially turned the entire set into a therapy session. He talked about how wonderful his wife is while assuring everyone that they're doing just fine. There's also a clip making rounds online from that same event where Akash confronts the situation head-on, asserting that his wife stood by him long before he found success. He's responding to people calling his wife a gold digger and a whore, which is just awful. So he decided to share a story he had never even told her, claiming she had no idea about it. Well, my wife and I crossed paths back in 2014, and at that time, I wasn't making much money at all. I was only earning $25 per night doing stand-up on MTV shows that paid next to nothing. If she were truly a gold digger, I didn't even have $10 to my name, to be honest. He also mentioned an incident in 2018 where he was completely broke, but she remained by his side. But then in 2018, I hit rock bottom at 34 years old. I probably made around $4,000 for the entire year, and we couldn't even afford our living space. In New York City, we were forced to stay in my apartment illegally. We were supposed to vacate by noon, but we had to hide out there that night, just the two of us sleeping on a hardwood floor. Here I am at 34, and she's only 25. I thought to myself, man, you could easily find a better deal with an Indian guy who's a doctor or something. He then concluded the story by emphasizing that she never once complained. So I had nothing to offer her but a light jacket. It was around October, and we had practically nothing. I offered her the jacket, saying she could use it as a pillow. Then she asked me, "What about you?" And I replied, "I'll manage." She handed the jacket back to me, insisting, "You take this." Then she cuddled against my chest, arms wrapped around me. And I remember thinking at that moment that this is why I never shared this with her. It hit me. I didn't know if I could marry her because I felt so broken and was in such a dark place in my life. But I also knew I'd never find a girl who loved me this much again. As expected, many online didn't buy his story, with comments like, "No way she did that, he's just trying to save face, and he never told her because it never occurred." You'd think that would wrap it up, but shortly after that show, another one of Jasleen's old TikToks resurfaced, pointing out Akash's entire situation all over again, saying he managed to land a 6-figure salary, which was a massive deal for us back then. But then in 2018, opportunities started slipping away. He was aging out of the MTV scene and was not catching much attention from the industry, meaning his income dried up. Simultaneously, I was stuck in a toxic job with a terrible manager, working late hours that just piled stress onto our relationship. I was really eager to get married and move forward, but he was uncertain, saying, "I don't even know who I am if I can't achieve anything after 15 years of effort, and I have no idea how I'll ever support you. I can't believe I'm in this dark place in my life. So broken that I'd be willing to marry this girl. I know I'll never find a girl who loves me as much as she does again." However, as you'd expect, many online weren't buying it, with comments like, "No way she did that, he's just trying to save face." You'd think that would wrap things up, but not long after this show aired, another TikTok from Jasleen came to light, where she basically spilled Akash's entire saga again. He was able to make a six-figure salary, which was massive for us at the time. But then by 2018, all the opportunities started drying up. He was aging out of the MTV bracket and lost all industry attention. So he was pretty much losing his income, while at the same time, I was stuck in a really toxic job with a bad manager working till 2 in the morning, adding stress to our relationship. I truly wanted to get engaged and move forward, but he felt lost, saying, "I don't even know who I am if I can't achieve something I've invested 15 years in. I can't even envision how I'll provide for you." All of his earnings, while I was stuck in a toxic job, dealing with a nightmare of a boss and working until 2 in the morning, piling on a ton of stress on our relationship. I truly wanted to tie the knot and move forward, but he felt lost, saying he didn't even recognize himself as a man if he couldn't succeed in what he had dedicated 15 years to, and he questioned how he could provide for me, or for the future of our family. Everything erupted when my mother-in-law came to stay with us, and I found myself acting quite distant due to everything. Akash was under a lot of stress, and I think she picked up on my vibe, perceiving me as either cold or passive-aggressive towards her. It turned into a massive confrontation among us all. Akash didn't stand up for me, leading me to question if I could truly stay in this relationship. At this point, it's safe to assume he's either in denial or fabricating tales to keep his pride intact. What troubled Akash even more was the roasting he'd be facing when he got back to Flagrant, especially after Andrew and his co-hosts revealing reactions upon discovering the controversy surrounding Akash while he's away in India or Dubai. This trip was planned long before this chaos unfolded. He's over there, and while we definitely want to hash out what's happening, it feels wrong to discuss it in his absence. So once he returns, we'll definitely sit down for that chat. I'm sure it's going to be quite the spirited debate, huh? It looks like Andrew can't wait for Akash to be back so he can roast him face to face over his wife's remarks. But aside from the humor, the burning question on everyone's mind was what would happen to Akash's position on the show when he returned, considering he and Andrew are famous for poking fun at other people's relationships. Do you think your girl has been with 3 times the number of guys she's disclosed? What the hell did you just say? I want to get real. I didn't mention body count, I simply want to hear about a couple of the past guys. Why do you want to hear that? I just want to see. That's peculiar. What do you expect to gain from that? I just want to confirm that when it comes to her taste, she has good taste. Right? Yeah, that's some messed up stuff. Just make sure she's got good taste. Imagine if all her exes were just some lame dudes, and I'm like, am I one of those? That lane might not be available for a crush after experiencing such public humiliation. Some fans expressed concern that this might jeopardize the chemistry between the two and potentially spell trouble for the podcast's long-term future. It appears Andrew was fully aware of this fact as the latest Flagrant episode featuring Jasleen finally dropped. And both Akash and Andrew are in damage control, attempting to salvage Jasleen's standing with some semantics. I thought it was simply about dressing up, and maybe that was my blunder. Yeah, so I accept that. Check out this big revelation. Yeah, the act of getting dressed up, looking sharp as heck while sporting heels at least 3 inches high, preferably taller, and dancing until dawn, that's what I was doing. Nonetheless, the damage is already done, and no amount of definition fishing on Urban Dictionary is going to shift the internet's perception. As the top comment under the episode highlights, 5 minutes in, and I'm offended they think we're that naive. The only plausible way Akash could redeem himself in this scenario is by embracing his new label as a simp, which, to be fair, is quite doable since he's never hesitated to make self-deprecating jokes in the past. Yet, as dire as Akash's situation appears, he hasn't suffered nearly as much as James Corden. Click the video on screen to discover how. According to the top comment on Urban Dictionary, this hunt is bound to change opinions online, stating, 5 minutes in and I'm insulted, they think we're that dumb. The only way Akash can turn this situation around is by embracing his newfound label as a simp, which isn't far-fetched since he's never shied away from self-deprecating humor before. Nonetheless, as dire as Akash's situation may seem, he still hasn't lost as much as James Corden. Click the video on the screen to discover how.